Hello everyone, and welcome to week 3 of Oceptember. If you want to see weeks 1 and 2, there will be links in the description below. Now let's get on to the speed paints. So day 15's prompt was modern/sci-fi AU, and for this one, there's only really one story that I'm working on that has fashion that's a somewhat of a departure from what you might call quote-unquote modern, and my other story is literally sci-fi, so I ended up going with just changing the designs for my Masked Hunter OCs, in this case Kitsune and Razu. And I mostly chose Kitsune and Razu instead of the trio because A, I've been giving a lot of love to the trio already, and B, I just really wanted to draw Kitsune in a crop top because I thought they would look great in it, and I was right. If I could have, I would have probably given Kitsune more layers in their outfit, but I didn't, so that's just how that went. And you might not be able to tell exactly since I didn't really add textures to this very much, but Razu's jacket is supposed to be like a sort of denim because I feel like he'd be the kind of person who would wear everything denim. So his jacket is denim, his pants are probably like black denim, and he just wears so much denim. And I gave him something like Converse adjacent for his shoes because I feel like he would wear something Converse adjacent. You might also notice that Kitsune is wearing their fox mask because that's sort of a big part of their character design and a big part of their character in general. So I wanted to keep it, but I decided to update the design to be more like the fox masks you might see like out in the real world rather than whatever fox mask looking thing that I gave them normally. So yeah, that's just kind of the idea behind the mask. And with that, let's get on to the next day. So day 16's prompt was cooking, and I decided to go with Elias since of all my characters, I feel like Elias being able to cook was sort of the most fluke accident of a plot point since before he joins the troop that he's a part of, not very many people are able to cook very well. Like everybody is able to do mediocre at best. But then Elias comes along and he's just the best cook. He's actually really good at cooking. Even if he like gets all angry and disgruntled that he has to cook, he will willingly cook because he actually secretly deep down inside finds it rather fun. But when he does end up cooking, he usually is really commanding of the kitchen space or whatever cooking space that he's working in, and he bosses everybody around, telling them what to do and like where to go, what things that he needs, and telling people to go faster. He's like, in a lot of ways, sort of like Gordon Ramsay-esque in that sense. And in terms of the other character in this, it's Sairan, who is best boy. He's my fish boy. He was the main character of my webtoon short story that I made in June, called the Masquerade Squire, and he's less important to the actual Lone Angel story, which is like sort of like I suppose a sequel to that short story, but not really, since Elias is the main character of that one, but Sairan was the main character of the Masquerade Squire story. But I didn't really have anywhere else to put Sairan in terms of the prompts, so I ended up just putting him here because I just thought it made sense since Elias kind of acts as Sairan's guardian a lot within the troop since he was like sort of Sairan's mentor. So I thought that him helping out Elias in the kitchen would just make a lot of sense. Anyway, on to the next prompt. So the next day's prompt, day 17, was dancing. And like I just mentioned, Elias's cast members for his story all come from a troupe that he's a part of, and in this case it's a Cirque du Soleil-esque style of troupe, so lots of like acrobatics, dancing and stuff. And so a lot of characters could have probably fit into this role or this prompt, but of all of them, I really thought that Angelina or her brother fit this prompt very well. And of the two, I draw Angelina more often, so I just drew Angelina. And in terms of what she does within the troupe, she tends to be much more of the acrobatics side of things. So she is, as you might notice, she is a were-squirrel, as I call them within this story. And that means that she's essentially part squirrel. So her magic, since it is a magic world also, is she has a heightened ability to balance on things. So she has a heightened agility and sense of balance. So she doesn't really fall off of things very much. So she normally works on the big like hoop rings that they have in the Cirque du Soleil shows that I see a lot. And she also works on trapeze. And those are her two main things, but she also works on the aerial silks. And that's more of her side thing. She just wanted to try doing aerial silks because they look cool. And her roommate and friend, Kate, with an H because it's exotic like that, is able to use and control cloth. So Kate essentially like helps her set up her aerial silks, and then she makes sure that Angelina doesn't accidentally like mess something up and like accidentally like fall off of the silks, because she just kind of makes the silks wrap around Angelina, and it's pretty cool. So this is just a picture of Angelina practicing her silks, and it was done with a pose reference off of Pinterest, because Pinterest is cool. And on to the next prompt. Day 18's prompt was getting hurt, and originally I had plans on doing a completely different drawing, which would have been related to the backstory of my Tachi trio from the Masked Hunter story. But it was really edgy, and honestly, I'm not even sure if I want to keep that plot point the way it is currently. So I ended up just completely scrapping it, which is unfortunate because that drawing originally had like the only picture that I was probably gonna do of the main antagonist of the Masked Hunter story, Kyun. So that was a little bit sad, but I do really like this new picture a lot, since it's another picture of Sairon, and this was the only probably other place I'll be able to draw him. So yeah, in terms of the picture, it's just pretty simple. It's just Sairon. Near the beginning of him joining the troupe, he doesn't really have that much of a niche within the troupe. He's just kind of the newbie. So he decided that he wanted to try helping Elias with cooking. So somebody gave him a knife and a couple potatoes, and he's just like, hey, peel these. And then originally Sairon was decent at it, but he's still not very good at it, so he ended up nicking his finger on the knife. And it wasn't that big of a nick. It was just like a tiny, like almost paper cut size. Like he was trying to be really careful. He just kind of slipped a little. So it's nothing major, but Elias, being Elias, if somebody is hurt in any way, he becomes kind of a little bit overprotective, especially since it's Sairon, and Sairon is baby, he is small. So you can see in the corner Elias going into attack mode. He will yeet whoever had the audacity to give Sairon a knife and then let Sairon hurt himself but only after healing Siren with his magic. And so on to the next prompt. So day 19's prompt was personality or palette swap. And I decided to do both, since I decided of all my characters, there was 2 sets of characters that I could do a palette swap with. And of those 2 sets of characters, there was one that I could also do a personality swap with and have a decent outcome, I felt like. So I went with that one. And that one was Kane and Nick. Because, like I said, their story is amazing. And their personalities are very different, especially on the job. So Agent Ash is very much a rambunctious daredevil. He will do things before he thinks about it. He is very much a taunting little rat man. He always gets into trouble. He always has to force himself out of trouble. And by comparison, Agent N is very much methodical, very much thinks everything out. He's calm, he's collected. He knows exactly what he's doing before he does it. So they are very, very different in like every way. And I am a sucker for red versus blue kind of color schemes, especially in characters that are supposed to be antagonistic with each other, or characters that are supposed to be like the closest friends, because I don't know what it is about red and blue colors. They just work really well together as a team. So since Ash is red and N is blue, I had to swap them. And since their personalities are so different, I had to swap them. And the image is blurred. It's not cursed, which I originally thought it was gonna be. Probably because I swapped both, and the color works very well with the personality. So red tends to be more aligned towards fiery tempers and rambunctious people. So the red worked with the new quote-unquote personality that I gave N, whereas blue tends to be really calming color, really collected color. So giving that to Ash actually suited his new personality more also, which is why it got a little bit out of cursed into blurred, because it's still cursed in a lot of ways, because these characters would never ever look like this, which is why it's still blurred leaning towards cursed rather than just blurred or rather than being blessed. It's no. Anyway, on to the next prompt. Now, day 20th prompt was in another style, and the moment I saw that prompt, I knew exactly who I wanted to do, and I knew exactly what style I wanted to do them in, because these are my 2 BNHA OCs, BNHA being Boku no Hero Academia, also known as My Hero Academia, which is also abbreviated as MHA. And since they are fan OCs, and I've never really drawn them in the style of the show that they're supposed to be a fan OC for, I decided to just do that for this prompt, since they are still technically OCs, since they are fan OCs. And I'm honestly pretty proud of the results for this. Like, I'm not 100% like, oh my god, this is like so good. It's just, I think that Yua's face, so the girl on the right, her face came out like really well. And that's thanks to the fact that in the MV for the song Hero 2, there's like this one girl that ends up floating due to Uraraka's powers that looked pretty much exactly like what I was going for the character. So I basically ripped off that character in a lot of ways without like directly tracing, but like I was using it as a decently heavy reference for this. And it was perfect. It was exactly what I needed. So that was really easy. However, Ren, who is the person on the left, their face, I wasn't really sure exactly how I would do it because they're very much hardcore emo. So I knew that the face expression I would rip off of Bakugo, which is what I did. But I wasn't sure about the hair because the hair is kind of like an ambiguous level of floof. It's not like curly, but it's like floofy, if that makes sense. So I tried to give it that floof by going after Deku's hair, but a little bit longer. And it's not exactly what I had in mind for Ren's hair, but it was close enough. So I kept it like that. And for some reason, so I added that blue background after seeing one of the posters had a similar kind of blue background with like the streaks. And I thought it would be kind of fun looking and maybe like allude to that poster. And when I did it, for some reason, that just made it really, really feel BNHJ. For some reason, like I don't know what it is about like the blue with the streaks, but like that just like tied in the whole picture like completely. And it was, like I said, I'm pretty proud of it. I'm still kind of sad that I couldn't exactly get what I was imagining for Ren. But Yua came out really good, so ambiguously happy with this picture. And on to the final prompt of this week. With the final prompt of this week being day 21 with the prompt memes. And I know that there's a lot of things you could do for memes. Like you could just do like some sort of like to draw the squad probably is like what I would normally have thought of doing, or some ripping off some kind of meme and just putting your character in the place of that meme. But I decided to do something a little more ambitious with this one because I had recently upgraded to Clip Studio Paint EX version, which means now I have animation powers. So I decided to try my hand at doing a little short animation of a vine. It's like more like an animatic. It was mostly lip sync practice plus like some low key me testing out how Clip Studio EX animation works. And I'm gonna be real, I do these recordings before I post the last 2 days. So since this is probably going up on Monday, I do these on Saturday. So I don't know what exactly the final product of the memes video will be yet in terms of this voiceover. And I'm not sure if I can post videos onto Instagram, but I will try. Regardless, I'm so far pretty proud of the way this looks since I have the sketch down right now, and it's coming out pretty well. It's just the dynamic between my trio, my other trio, since now I have more than one trio of Sophia, Jack, and Silas. And it's just Silas and Jack are just chilling in the house, and Sophia comes back home and she's like, so have you washed the dishes? And then they're just like, nope. And then she's just like, why not? Because that's definitely the dynamic I have imagined for them, where Sophia kind of takes the role of like the caretaker of the three of them, and then Jack also kind of shares in that burden a little bit, but Silas is very much the freeloader of the three. So when she expects that they wash the dishes and they didn't, she's just like, And so I'll probably just put the video here, and then after that it will be the outro.
Did you wash the dishes?
I thought
You wanted to do that.
You were wrong! So thanks for watching this week's video of Oceptember. There's only really 1 week left, so the next video will probably be the last. So yeah. If you want to see any of these pictures in their full resolution, you can check out my Twitter, Instagram, or Tumblr, which will all be linked in the description below. And thanks for watching.